But we're going to talk a little Cavs. We'll get to that Cavs topic after you tell us why Menu RX is such a valuable part of your life.
Well, Dr. Jake May, who runs Menu RX, he and the nutritionists and scientists that work there, they have been studying weight loss for years. I have struggled with my weight being up and down over the years, and believe it or not, I have lost 30 pounds in the last few months. I've kind of stalled out here, and I'm struggling because I've had to come off my weight loss medication because I've had some side effects. And it's frustrating. And instead of completely falling off a cliff and gaining all the weight back, I talk to Jake every week, and he kind of helps me see the bigger picture, and we talk about strategies and stuff like that. For a lot of people out there, if you're struggling with weight, if you've been obese your whole life, if you've gotten heavy in recent years as you've gotten older, Menu RX can help. It's not some chain operation that has one plan fits all, because it doesn't work that way. So if you're done with trendy diets and weight loss plans that are on commercials trying to sucker you into joining them, well, do this. This is the way to go. This is real scientists, real nutritionists, real people making an individual plan to help you. And they even accept many insurance plans, HSA and FSA payments, so it might not cost you $1. So whether you're chasing peak performance, building your dream body, or seeking optimal longevity, Menu RX will help you reach your goals. Go to menu-rx, as you see on the screen, .com to get your consultation today.
Thank you for that, Bull.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to read some viewer comments, which is going to set up this next topic here about the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah.
And once again, as I mentioned earlier, if anyone has a certain opinion on this topic, I will mute your mic and kick you off the show. So just a heads up. These are comments.
Bush officially agree with this? Officially?
Text him on the side. Let's get his official answer. He has a better chance of answering your text than he does my text.
Okay.
Trust me, I've been asking for graphics from 3 weeks ago. He's finally sending me today.
Yeah,
We didn't run the topic 2.5 weeks ago.
All right.
These are all comments we have gotten since Game 3 tipped off in the Eastern Conference playoffs. First one comes from Corrupt Shadow. Mikey, this is a serious question. Are we better without Garland? This is a question that needs to be asked. Does our team flow better without Garland? I know no one wants to ask the question out loud, but inside our heads, we're asking. Next. It's a comment from Jessica Maxiel. I ain't going to lie. At this point, the Cavs should trade Darius Garland. Next. From Steven Keener. Is it possible this team is better without DG? He hasn't played the last 2 games, and they were complete domination. The defense has been suffocating without DG, and we need to know that as we move towards the Eastern Conference Finals. I love you, DG, but you can't ignore how we've played without him. Next. We low-key might be better without Garland. That's from Cody Caldwell. Next. Derek says the Cavs actually might be better without Garland. These are just some. We could have used 100 more examples of Cavs fans online sending us comments on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram, putting into the world, the internet, that the Cavs might be better without Darius Garland. Jason, I want to start with you. Is this the dumbest shit you've ever heard?
Damn, Mike.
It is.
Yes, it's ridiculous. Of course the Cavs are a better team with Darius Garland on the floor. For whatever part of defensive deficiencies it presents, and it does, he more than makes up for it on the offensive end. He's one of the most clutch players in the league this year. We've been talking about all year. He's got all the numbers to back it up. His three-point shooting is on point. He's a killer on the court. When the discussion was going on about do they need to break up the core four, it was always, for me, it was always the front court. Could you play Evan and Jared together? It was never, in my mind, so much about can Darius and Donovan coexist. They can. They've proven that time and again. They've proven it again this year. That is not – this team's won over 60 games. They were flirting with 70 for a while. They're the number 1 seed. Why are you trying to do this before they've even been given an opportunity against Boston? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. I don't know. Okay, so they hammered the Heat twice on the road in the playoffs without Darius. I'm not sure that proves anything about how the Cavs are built. I think it shows where Miami was at in all of this. It's ludicrous, it's stupid, and we've already spent too much time on it.
Tyvis?
You know, everybody knows how I feel about DG. I think that, so I agree with you. Miami is not a great team, but you need him for those games that you play, the Celtics and stuff like that. You need guys that can go get a bucket Because at a certain point in time, the offense is going to get stagnant, and everybody's going to get tired of that. It's going to turn into a one-on-one situation. They talk about in the playoffs, a lot of the thing turn into one-on-one situations. And you need a guy that can certainly go get a bucket on 3 levels. He can finish, he can hit you with the floater, or he can shoot the 3. So it's not many guys on the Cavs. I know we got some great role players that come in and they play their role really well. But you talk about, it's about 3 guys that can create and get their own bucket. And those 3 guys, well, maybe 4. I give you maybe 4. Yeah, I'll give you 4 guys that could probably go get their own bucket. And Darius is amongst those 4. And you're going to need that if you're trying to win a championship. So, yeah, they're not better without Darius.
All right, so I haven't heard from G. Bush. I texted him.
Should I try to call him?
I guess.
I'll call. Yeah, you go. I'm gonna call him.
So this is such a high level of stupidity. I'm so annoyed that we're talking about this.
I'm mad we talking about it too.
I mean, this is it's so ridiculous. I've had these arguments with Jay on the show about people assigning cause and effect to something without proof that it's cause and effect. In other words, Jay and Jason used to constantly be hung up on if Nick Chubb gets this many carries, the Browns would win. As if that number was a direct correlation to the win, which clearly it was not.
Yeah.
There were other factors as to why they would win games when they had. You can't create a cause and effect that doesn't exist. You just because you think it exists doesn't mean it does. Are we expected, the people that think they're better without Darius Garland because of 2 games against a shitty Miami Heat team? The Miami Heat were the 10th seed in the East. I get it, they have a good coach. They were scrappy and had close losses. They suck, guys. What were they, 10 games under 500?
37-45 this year.
Go ahead.
They are a bad basketball team.
Butler railroaded a lot of their season.
Fine. They weren't very talented.
They were more competitive in Cleveland than they were at home. It was a wild series.
It was weird. And what happened to them in Miami is hard to explain why they lost that badly. But if you're saying they're better without Darius, you're essentially saying, well, if Darius had played, they might have been close games. There's no rational reason to believe that. It is a coincidence, clearly, that he happened to be out in the games that they won in dominating fashion. By the way, I know they didn't win by as many points, but they dominated the Heat in the first game, especially, they pulled away late, I guess. But, they won both those games by 9 and 20. It wasn't like they were very overly competitive games. Darius Garland is one of the, 30 best players in the league?
Yep.
40 at the worst?
Yep.
I mean, to say you're better without one of the 30 or 40 best players in the league is insane.
That's what people used to say about the Grizzlies with Ja. The Memphis Grizzlies are better without Ja.
Well, fit matters in the NBA. So
Yeah.
it is possible that you could have really good players that just don't fit together.
Sure.
That is possible.
Yeah.
I just don't think that's not the case
And
here.
Darius is not a selfish player.
No, not
at
all.
He
all.
leads the team in assists, both regular season and playoffs.
Yes, is he flawed defensively? Sure.
But you know what's crazy about that? With the DG defensive stuff? You're
Yeah.
right. Flawed defensively.
Yeah.
Do you know who replaced him in the starting lineup?
Sam Merrill.
Listen, Sam Merrill is not a slouch defensively, but let's not pretend that there is some sort of drastic difference between Sam Merrill. You're not replacing Darius Garland with Dennis Rodman, and all of a sudden the defense is going from good to elite. You replace Darius Garland with Sam Merrill, who's a good defender, and probably a little bit better defender positionally than Darius, but Darius has some other things he's better at, quicker, better hands.
Yeah.
But it's not like it's a giant gap.
The Heat
it's absurd.
were not that talented.
Yes.
They ran out of gas and they got their ass kicked.
One of the things I think that we're going to spend quite a bit of time talking about in the next series, though, is Boston is going to hunt Darius on the defensive end.
Sure.
And they're going to put him in mismatches and they're going to put him in as many pick and rolls as they can. That's still not a reason why you would want to move on from him. It's going to be I think Darius is going to have a problem against Boston.
Wouldn't they do the same to Sam Merrill?
Of course.
Yes,
of
exactly.
course.
That's what I'm just saying. Yeah, it's exactly the same.
I don't care about Sam Merrill.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Darius being one of the, he's an all-star, one of the best players on this team. And I do think he's going to run into some trouble against Boston because of the way Boston's going to attack him.
Yeah.
But that's still no reason to say, well, you got to move on from Darius.
Right.
We put this in the chat. And what are the poll results right now?
12% of people say yes, we are better without
That's
Garland.
fine. There's always gonna
88%
be-
say no.
Revoke their YouTube privileges.
There's
love
always
it.
going to be 12% of the fans that think every wacky conspiracy
Fair. I got
theory-
some numbers real quick.
12%.
Just-
Stick to your guns. Yes.
Yeah, I know.
You could put a poll in there. Did we actually go to the moon? And probably more than 12% would say no.
Should we do that? You
Yeah.
want us to do that?
Yeah.
100%. There'd be.
Some numbers real quick, just because sometimes I like to add numbers to this
Yeah.
conversation.
Conspiracy theory.
This season, during the regular season, not playoffs, regular season, the Cavs had an offensive rating when Darius was on the court of 123.2. Of all the guys that actually played, not the Chumo Kikis who played 2 games at the end, that was the best offensive rating by any player on the Cavs this season. When he was off the court, the offensive rating dropped 8.4 points down to 114.8. That was the biggest difference in an offensive rating change on and off court split on the Cavs. They were 4-3 without him this season. They averaged 122 points in those games without Darius Garland, which is about the same as the regular season.
Yeah. Who did they
averaged
play
one-
in those games, though? I mean, like,
Played
I'd have to have
Orlando.
some context on that.
I mean, it's 7 games.
Yeah.
I could look up exactly the 7 if you want in a sec. But
Yeah.
Orlando and Indiana were 2 of the teams. And when they played without Darius, it was the same numbers. Like 115.3 is a little higher than the average they let up without him, showing the defense over a 7-game stretch.
What's his
wasn't
defensive
drastically
rating,
different.
Darius?
I can pull it up. Hold on one sec.
And tell me Sam Merrill's defensive rating, please. I'm just curious.
Phil for 20 seconds, so I pull it up.
I think we missing. I think the people's point.
There is no point.
I
It's
think
idiotic.
what they're trying to say is if the Cavs didn't win it all this year,
Yeah.
if they needed to change something, they think that the Cavs would still be okay if they traded Darius for somebody else. Like I think that's the point. Like they think,
I never close my mind to any
I
possible
think that's
trade,
what
but
this is. I'm trying to put myself in their
they can't
shoes,
do that anyway,
and
Jason,
I
right?
think
'Cause
that's
of the
what
cap?
they're trying to say.
That's not even realistic either
Yeah.
because they're in the second apron,
No.
which makes trades.
This is the team.
This is the team, and this is the team they wanted to build.
That's right.
They're happy with what they have. You have a 3-year window.
They
That's this postseason and 2
Yeah.
more.
They can't trade Darius because I just got a jersey and I ain't. You know what
They're
I'm
not
saying?
trading them.
I know they're not.
The only
ain't going
question,
anywhere.
the only question is, can they re-sign Ty Jerome? That's the only question, right? I mean, what else could they do? Go
I
ahead.
got your numbers, Bull.
Yeah, please.
Defensive rating this season.
Yeah.
Darius Garland, 113.4.
What?
113.4. 113.4.
But isn't that good?
Eh.
No,
Oh, I thought 100 was the dividing line.
you want below.
You want lower.
Oh.
Defensive rating
so
lower
with
good.
defense, the higher, the worse.
Yes.
So that's not good. What is Sam Merrill?
Sam Merrill had a 107.1.
Is that a significant difference between 107 and 113?
That's pretty.
It's a pretty big
Yeah.
difference, but it's on the court, so it's takes into account everyone around you.
What is Trey Young?
I can find if you give me one sec.
He's a defensive liability because he's short.
Trey Young's defensive rating this season, 114.6.
He worse.
Not much, though. I don't know.
Pretty comparable.
Offensive rating for Merrill, though.
What is Luka Doncic?
What is Merrill's offensive rating?
Sam Merrill's offensive rating is just 117.4. So their net rating, the difference between
Yeah.
it's the same. It's 10.3 versus 9.9.
Okay.
The
So
same.
what does that mean?
Nothing.
You wanted Lucas?
So why
Yeah,
are we even
what's-
talking about the
what's
if they don't-
Luka's
if it doesn't mean
defensive
anything,
rating?
why are we talking about
Hold on,
the
I want to know.
ratings?
I need to know Luka's defensive rating.
Luka had a defensive rating. This is just with the Lakers.
Yeah.
111.5, 111.5.
That's better than Darius.
Yes.
So if the number, if it doesn't mean anything, then why do we use the numbers?
No, you said
No, I'm saying the difference in 10.4 versus 9.9 is that's a very
Okay, so
marginal
if they have an equal rating, like, so what does that say to you? I explained.
that the Cavs are better offensively when Darius is on the court,
Yeah.
and slightly worse defensively, and they're slightly worse offensively in comparison to when
Right.
Sam's on, but a little better defensively.
But what I'm asking is, if the net rating difference between the two is not significant, is Darius not as much better than Sam Merrill as we think he is? Because it seems like to me
No, 'cause
he's a million times better.
It's a lot of it's lineup dependent.
yes.
So who you're playing with, so it's Sam's going the minutes that Sam's on the court.
So it's not it's not an individual number.
It's a better number from a team perspective. There's some merit to it from an individual perspective.
Yeah.
Yes. It's defensive rating and offensive rating is much better used, I believe, in the totality of
Okay,
of
so
the
it's
team.
not a great stat for individual then.
It's okay. I mean, it paints you a picture. If a guy's number is 98, 97, that's going to be a better defender than a guy who's his 111. But if you're trying to compare apples,
Okay.
you know what I'm saying?
I get it. So then really 113 and 107, if you dove into it with a fine-tooth comb, could be about the same, potentially.
I mean, it depends on who's around him, on who's playing around him. Who would you rather have on the floor, Sam Merrill or Darius Garland? I'll take Darius.
Darius
every
Garland
time.
100 out of
It's
100
10 out of-
times.
yeah.
So